and Education, they sell rulers with picas on there. Yeah. In United Art and Education will sell pica rulers. They do have brick and mortar stores. There's one on the north side and one on the south side. But yeah, it's called United Art and Education. And I can provide you guys with a paper one if you're like, I just really don't want to deal with that. Okay, so I'm grabbing our files here. They're located here in the Blackboard in this week's stuff, so it's a zip file. So I'm going to save that link to my desktop. And we're going to start this exercise for the Lodge Cast Iron Catalog. Lodge Logic. How many guys have cooked with cast iron before? Yep. It's not bad as long as it's good and seasoned, right? Yeah, I like it. Yeah, you can do a lot with the Dutch oven, that's for sure. Okay, so this is downloading. While it's downloading, I'm going to do a few more measurements. I don't know why it's taking so long to download. There we go. It's acting like it's not downloaded, but it actually was. So I have a PDF in here which shows you what the end result looks like. Okay. And I'm going to open InDesign. And I'm going to create this 5.5 by 8.25 inch document. I wish I'd had this already open. It takes too long, doesn't it? You know, the new Creative Cloud 2014 release. I'm not so excited about the graphics here as I was at the previous version. Do you guys remember the previous version graphics? They're a little bit more colorful, fluid. Yeah, much more attractive. Okay, so we're ready to get started on our Logic Exercise 1. So I have InDesign open, and I am going to create a new file by going to File, a New, or Command N, and we're going to type in the width and the height of this. We know the width is 5.5 inches, so I'm going to type 5.5 IN. If you don't remember to put the IN there, it'll think you're meaning 5.5 picas, which means that page would be less than 1 inch wide. So let's make sure we put IN after that. It'll convert it to picas and points. And then lastly, we were 8.25 inches in the height. So our width is 33, our height is 8.25. Now it looks like this is a one-column layout. We're dealing with basically tabbing here. So this is not a separate column. In your past, you might have thought, oh, I'm going to make a separate column for that, but we're not. The past is the past. We're doing things much more efficiently now. So in the columns, we're going to leave that number as 1. And in our margins, we may have to play with these a little bit later, but I am assuming that our top margin is, again, I don't have a pica ruler, and we can always adjust this. Looks like the top margin is 1/2 inch, so that's 3 picas. The bottom margin, we would actually measure from the base of the last line of the type. We're probably talking about 3/4 inch on the bottom margin. So we're going to uncheck or click on this little link to break it. We want these bottom margins and top margins different. So I'm assuming by measure, I'm looking at 3/4 of an inch for my bottom margin. So that would be 0.75 IN, which it will convert to picas here in just a second. That's 4.5 picas. 4 picas, 6 points. Since there's 12 points in a pica, P6 means half of a pica. The inside margin looks to be about 3.5 picas. So for the inside margin, it would be 3P6. Okay? So 3 picas, 6 points is 3.5 picas. And our outside margin looks to be about 5.5 picas. So that would be 5P6. Okay? So to begin the document, again, we can change this stuff later if we have to. We have margins that are not equal to one another. We have a top margin of 1/2 inch, which is 3 picas. We have a bottom margin of about 4.5 picas. We have an inside margin of 3.5 picas and an outside margin of 5.5 picas. Now there's really no bleed on this document, meaning there's no color that goes past these crop marks, that goes out to the edge of the page. So we really don't have to worry about the bleed right now. So I'm going to hit OK. We want to make sure facing pages is turned on. And I suppose here we could say we have 2 pages and we start page numbering at page 6. Aha, that's a nice place to do that. Now, they didn't used to have that on there in the older versions of the software. But we're going to have number of pages 2 and start page numbering at 6. Now, why would we have in the real world why would I be given something where a page number starts at anything other than page 1? Exactly. You'll have multiple designers working on the same publication. If you have, several dozens of pages, you might give a dozen pages to one designer and another dozen to another, and then a third designer might even get another set of dozen pages. And then you marry them together in what's called the book feature of InDesign. Okay? But we're not going to do that, but that's why we would do this. Start our numbering on some other pages in page 1. I hit OK, and you'll see in the Pages panel, when I click on it, it now has pages 6 and 7 because I told it it's 2 pages, I told it it's facing pages, and I told it to start on page 6. Now, let's assume I forgot to start this on page 6, okay? I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to go to the new document, and I'm going to do this again. Facing pages, I leave it at the right, I leave it at pages, number of pages 1, start at page 1. And it's 5.5 by 8.25 inches. It's 1 column. We had 3 picas. What was our bottom again? 4P6, was it?
Yes.
Oops. And what was our inside margin? 3P6. I should have written that down, huh? And our outside margin was 5P6, is that right? Okay. Facing pages, number pages 1, starting page 1. This is in the event that you just were in a hurry when you started a document. Then you get something that looks like this. And you have to add pages, and you also have to tell page 1 to be page 6. Well, how do you do that after the fact without starting a new document? And many times you guys forget that feature in the beginning. Well, if you right-click on any particular page, specifically in this case the first page, you can go to Numbering and Section Options, it's the 6th item down, and you can say, hey, start my page numbering at page 6. Okay, and I'm just going to add a page, and it's in essence the same thing I had before, I just had to spend more time dealing with it. Now, if we're working smarter, not harder, when we created that new document, if we just told it to have 2 pages and start on page 6, that would have saved us a lot of time, wouldn't it have? Okay? Now, we're ready to import some text. But before we do, I mentioned that we were going to talk about Microsoft Word. So I'm going to save this as my name because this is, I'm going to call it Exercise 2. Rebecca Exercise 2. And I'm going to just take it to my folder where I'm pulling things from. There we go. So he's there, he's safe. I don't have to deal with him for a second. Now let's talk about Microsoft Word for just a minute. I'm going to open up the Lodge text document in Microsoft Word. I don't know what anybody's done to this document yet. It's been a while since I've seen it. I haven't opened it today. Maybe somebody's already formatted this text for me and given it paragraph styles. I don't know. But we're about ready to find out. Be nice if it were the case. But if they have not, then I'm going to go ahead and specify some paragraph styles as I go down and look at the different typography. And I'm going to reference my PDF so I know what type looks different than the other. Again, I'm not going to worry about tabs. I might hit the tab key, but I don't care where it sets the tab. But I might hit the tab key to move these away from, move the prices away from the descriptions. Boy, Word's taking forever to open as well. There we go. Now, if you look at Word, one thing I always do is I turn the backwards P on, which is show all non-printing objects. You want to make sure someone has not done something goofy, like hit the space bar to separate things. Now, it does appear here, right here. Let me zoom in. Where we have a description and then we have a price, that whoever typeset this did hit the tab key. They only hit it once. Yay! Now, if they did this and hit tab several times to get these lined up like so, they make it look really nice and pretty, but it is a nightmare for later on. Okay, so if you get a client document and they've hit the tab bar more than once and things line up beautifully, chances are you have to clear that out. Again, hitting the tab key is an actual character. It's not like you can go out and strip out any formatting. You have to go in there and just delete all these extra tabs. So I'm going in there and deleting extra tabs. This is why it's so important to turn on your invisibles. Now, your guys' document is clean that I gave you. But in the event you get it from a client and it's not clean, you got to clean it out. Okay. Now I'm going to analyze my document that is printed. And we know that since the words that say since 1896, those are, let's see, on both of those pages, there's a certain look to those. So I'm going to go ahead, I don't care what font this is, I'm going to make this a different font. I don't really care what font, really. I don't know what font I'm using yet. So I'm going to use this a body. I don't even care for that font, but I'm just going to use that. So you can use any font here. And then cookware, well, it's a whole different font. I believe it's Mesquite. I don't think that Mesquite is loaded, so hey, Menlo Bold it is. Okay, this is not going to look pretty, but I don't really care. Now, you notice I do triple clicks. That gives me, again, the backwards P. You want that. Triple click or quad clicks for paragraphs, triple clicks for lines. If you miss that backwards P, he'll still be that old font. Many great American chefs put Lodge cast iron on the list of 10 most essential tools. That whole entire paragraph. Well, I'm just going to keep that times. How boring.
No, for your cookware, you looked at a different, that's also a different.
It's a different font, yeah. If it's a different font here or it looks different on the PDF, then I just make it a completely different font. Even if the little descriptive text is the same font as the big text, I make it a different font anyway. I just want it to look very distinctively different. Okay? And it doesn't even have to, it can be any old font. Okay? Now, the word skillets. Well, it looks distinctively different from everything else. On both pages, I'm looking to see if there's anything that's all caps like that, and there's not. So let me make him a completely different font. I'm just going to type the word skillet in here and see what the closest word to it is. Skia. Okay, that's fine. Skia it is. I don't really care. I'm like, wow, this is great. I don't care. This one's Times New Roman. Well, if he looks just like the text that, let me go to this, PDF that I probably closed inadvertently. You know, skillets, if I look at this, it's all caps. Nothing else here is all caps. So he's kind of standing alone. But the thing that says, a kitchen's most essential item. Well, that's probably the same kind of type as this body copy up here. Okay? So I'm just going to make it times, which it already is. Right here. Times. Great. Now, I'm getting into this text here where it is descriptive of a category. So Lodge Logic, seasoned, ready to use, no assist handle. It's the same look as Logic Season Ready to Use with assist handle. Okay, so these two share the same formatting. So I'm going to make these two bits of text the same font. Okay, so I'm back here. Logic Season Ready to Use, no assist handle. Now if it helps you too, you can make it a different color. Why not? But I don't want it to be times. So I'm just going to start typing the word Lodge. L-O-D, okay, it's not going anywhere. L. Okay, whatever that went to. Whatever font that is. I really don't care. Now the problem with this font I just typed in, you see how it's blank right here? That could be a problem. So I better find something that doesn't leave me a blank. I'm a little worried about that. I don't know what Langding High is, but I'm going to use something else. We'll just use, I'll use Arial Black. What the heck? Okay. And then we have all of this stuff right here, which is, let's look at the PDF. We have we have the next 3 lines, which would be things that are tabbed. So I'm going to highlight these next 3 lines. I'm going to make them any old font. How about Adobe Garamond Pro? Why not? I could set a tab here, but I really don't want to do that. This is an 8.5 by 11 inch document, and that doesn't, if I set a tab so it looks pretty here, it will really mess up later on when I'm in a much smaller document. It may push the prices down to a whole new line. So I'm going to just leave that alone. Okay? Now, the rest of the stuff below, I'm going to see if anything needs anything special. That looks the same as that. These prices look the same as those prices and descriptions. That price and description kind of looks the same as those. Original finish, you know, that might be a separate paragraph style. So one has an assist handle, one does not. Order by phone and mail looks like it's the same size as the body copy. So maybe for the original finish, no assist handle, I'll go ahead and change that. Original finish, no assist handle. I'm going to make it something obvious that's different than a serif. I'm going to make it something I haven't used. Apple Casual, why not? Very ugly typesetting job here, isn't it? Not very pretty. Lots of different fonts used. It's not a good idea. Let me go ahead and bold that so I can see that a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to now build what are called paragraph styles in Word. I'll apply the paragraph styles to the text down here once I build it, okay? So I know since 1980 or 1896, that's going to have a specific look later on. And here in the Styles panel, you can either use a preset style, which I would not do here. I'm going to make my own. Or to make your own, here's the thing. You're like, well, how do I make my own? I keep clicking through here. The little tiny backwards P with a little kind of, looks like a little desktop window. It manages the styles that are used in the document. So if you click on that little tiny backwards P with a little square around it, you see that right there? If I click on that, oh, my styles panel just flies right out. Awesome. Now I can create a new style here. So here on since 1896, I can click on the new style button. And this is similar to InDesign, not the same, but similar. And in this, I'm going to call this the top header text. Okay? Top header text, because it's always on the top, it's always the header, and it's always there, top header text. And I say, okay, thanks, okay. Now, I don't know that it really doesn't apply the paragraph style to the text that's highlighted. You have to go over here to the style, and you have to have this type highlighted, and you have to say, oh, by the way, you are top header text. You actually have to click on that after you've applied it. Kind of dumb extra move we have to do. Otherwise, it'll keep it as the style of normal. And this, what we're going to do won't work when we translate it into InDesign. So once you create a style, you have to tell it, oh, by the way, you are that style I just made. Now I'm going to triple click on cookware. I'm going to create new style by clicking the new style button. And I'm going to say type of cookware. Now, why I'm calling it that is on the other page it says camp cookware. So there's different kinds of cookware. Regular cookware, camp cookware, whatever. So type of cookware. I hit OK. And then I go, oh, where'd he go? You scroll down and you find him. And you go, oh, by the way, you are the type of cookware. Okay, so you have to name the style. You have to highlight the text that you want to style it after. Create the new style, name it, and then tell it, hey, by the way, you are that style I just made. Okay? Now, I'm going to do 4 clicks. Actually, I think in Word it's 1, 2, 3 clicks. 3 clicks will get you the whole paragraph. 4 clicks in InDesign. But 3 clicks, I get this whole paragraph. I'm going to create another new style, and I'm going to call it just body copy. Body copy is all that lots of text that just words on and on and on. Say, okay, and I have to go, oh, by the way, you are body copy. Hopefully it didn't have 2 body copies. Now, you can get rid of some of these paragraph styles, which I might do in a little bit. I just want to make sure nothing's selected. Now, the next one is skillets. Now, since it's only used once, I'm just going to call it skillets, all caps. So I'm going to create the new style. I'm going to call it skillets, all caps. Okay? Skillets, all caps. Hit OK. And then I go and find skillets, all caps, and say, hey, by the way, you're skillets, all caps. I go to the next line. That's just body copy, so I just tell it, hey, you're body copy. I already created that one. So I just click on it and say, hey, you're body copy. Now, this particular one is about, it's used twice, but in a bigger catalog it would be used over and over again. This is the assist and no assist handle. So I'm going to call this a new paragraph style. So I create the new style here. I'm going to call with and without assist handle. Because that's the only differences between those two. Lodge Logic, season ready to use. Actually, I'm just going to call it Lodge Logic. Yeah, I'll just with and without assist handle. That's fine. It doesn't matter as long as we know what it means. And then I have to go find that and say, oh, by the way, you are without assist handle. Now I'm going to grab these next 3 lines. And these are going to have tabs in them. So I'm going to call this new style, click on the new style button, I'm going to call it descriptions and price. Descriptions and price. Because every single one of those lines is a descriptive item with a price tag. I hit OK. I go, oh, by the way, you're a description with price. So I got to go find that. Ooh, where'd he go? There he is. Okay, now just like InDesign, all I have to do is put my cursor in one of these, and like this one that says Lodge Season Ready to Use with Assist Handle, I just go to without assist handle, click on it, and apply that style. Now the next pricing, I'm going to click on all that, including the thing about the pouring, and I know that that was the description and price, so I have to go find description and price. The original finish, no assist handle. I need to highlight that. I haven't specified a style for that. Boy, that door just locks by itself. Okay, so this guy, I need to make a new style for him, and I'm just going to call him original finish. There's a couple of those. Hit OK. Then I come down to the next price and description, and I say, oh, by the way, you are a description and price. The original finish stuff, I click on that, and I say, oh, by the way, you are an original finish. Oh, it just went to the original finish type. I click on this stuff, and I say, you are description and price. Order by phone is probably simply just body copy, same as that. And for the Lodge MFG and .com and the page 5, Right now I'm not going to worry about those because those are going to be on the master page, so I'm not going to worry about those yet. Now I'm ready to move on to the next page's information, which is here, where it says Lodge Cast Iron. So I'm looking and I'm like, oh, that's a top header. So I'm going to go here and find the header. I don't have to, top header text, there we go. The Camp Cookware was the type of cookware. Camp Dutch Oven, let's see, that's a whole new one. So I'm going to highlight that one. I'm going to make it a different font, something I haven't used yet. Apple Chancery, we'll just do that. It looks very different. And I'm going to say, okay, you are Camp Dutch, well, there's a couple of them. Camp Dutch Oven and replacement lids use the same thing. So I'm just going to call this, just for ease, I'm going to call it Camp Dutch. I could also say and replacement because they share the same thing. I go, oh, by the way, you are a Camp Dutch and replacement. Got to find him now. So once you create a style, you have to apply it. This is body copy, so I just go and click on body copy. This is that Lodge Logic Season Ready to Use. Let's see, he was the same as No Assist Handle. Oh, this just says Season Ready to Use. Maybe I should rename that. So this was about the No Assist Handle. Now I gotta find it. With and without assist handle. Maybe I need to rename that style because it all says Lodge Logic. So if you want to rename this style, you can modify the style by, let's see if I can just double click. Nope, got to click on that little arrow, go to modify style, and you can rename this. And I'm just going to call this Lodge Logic because it's different on the pages. So I've just renamed a style so I make it easier for me to understand. And it's moving them around when I do that. Gosh, this stuff's expensive, isn't it? Look at that 12-quart, 16-inch diameter thing, $132. Woo! Well, we know that is the description and price. So we clicked on that one. The original finish, we've done that before, I think. Yep, we did. So I've got to find it now. There it is, original finish. You know, sometimes I'll number these, like headline, like put a number before them. Then when I do that, it puts these in a really nice, good order. But right now I'm just dealing with names. But if you put a number before these, it'll put them in the order that you created them. Here I have these, which are descriptions and prices. Replacement lids was that same thing I just made for Camp Dutch and replacement. So I tell it it's for the Camp Dutch replacement type. Lodge Logic Season and Ready to Use. Well, I just changed that name to Lodge Logic. Now I have some descriptions and prices. I'm going to click on all that. Make sure that that is a description and price. Natural finish looks to be about the same, so I'm just going to grab all of that and say it's description and price. Order by phone and internet, that goes on a master page, and so does everything else. Now, in theory, I'm done with all of what I need to do in Word now. But when I look at this, I realize that whoever typeset this put pages, well, they got a little confused. Page 6 information actually is after page 7 information, okay? So the Microsoft Word document is in a slightly different order than what you need it. And if you want to avoid a lot of hassle, what you probably want to do is take everything that's supposed to be on page 7, highlight it, cut it, go to Edit, Cut, which is Command X. Get rid of these extra returns there. Go to the end of this type and paste it. Okay? So now page 6 text is first and page 7 text is later. Now sometimes you'll get an editor and you got to flip things around because things change all the time. Now, what I would do sometimes is I'll insert a page break here, and oftentimes somebody will also insert a page break here. And we're going to go ahead and insert a page break and see what happens to our see if we create problems. But right before, since 1896, which is the second page is type, I'm going to go to Insert, Break, and put a page break. This tells both InDesign and Word to put that type on a new page. Okay? So again, that's putting your cursor before the S and since 1896 and going to Insert, Break, Page Break. All right, so for review, what we did is we separated out the look of each line of or paragraph of type by making a different font. We applied new styles to those. We moved the initial information, we moved that to be later. So the first page of information stuff needed to be secondary. And we applied every paragraph here should have some application of a style. So how do I know? If I click on these, 1, 2, 3, click, it'll tell me what the current style is. 1, 2, 3 clicks, current style. 1, 2, 3 clicks, current style. Okay? Now, we're ready to save this. And I always save this as a different name. I like to save this because if the client comes back to me and they say, hey, we didn't supply that to you in Word, that's not there at all. I never save over my client's documents that they send me. I save them as a different name when I formatted them because that way it's called cover your rear end. You can go back to that document and you can say, oh, no, it was not there, or, oh, yep, that was there. So I always save anything I formatted as a different name. Just get in the habit of doing that. Always leave the original documents untouched and then save them as different names or duplicate them. All right. Now we're back to InDesign. And because we're working with typography, I'm going to click from Essentials to Typography, and we have a question. Yes.
Are you recording?
I am, but that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, okay. Could you go over doing the cut what did you do? You inserted a page break in Word?
Yeah, I did in Word.
Sorry, I'm taking notes for someone else.
That's okay. Yeah.
Me.
What I did here, no problem. What I did here after I formatted everything, let me just kind of zoom out. Because page 7's information actually showed up first in the Word document, I highlighted all of that and I cut it out of there. And then at the end of this text, I pasted it. But after I pasted it, let me zoom in. After I pasted it, I deleted any extra returns and I put a page break. I went to Insert, Break, and Page Break. Okay? That automatically moves that to a new page. It will also automatically, when I bring it into InDesign, move it to a new page, which can create problems, but we'll solve all those problems. Okay? So in looking at the PDF, I realized that the text was out of order. The text that was supposed to be on the left-hand page would have ended up being on the right-hand page. And the text that was on the right-hand page would end up being on the left-hand page. It would have been a mess. And I don't want to deal with it. So I'm just dealing with it here. Okay. So in InDesign, we switched from Essentials to Typography because we use that a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and tear off my paragraph styles so we can see them a little bit better. Here they are. Now, are we ready for the magic? This is the fun part. God. They say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Well, here's your pound of cure. We're going to import this text, and we're going to make sure this paragraph style is coming with it. Okay? So, I'm going to go to File and Place. This is how we always get text. File and Place. I go find my Lodge text formatted, the one I named formatted. I don't want the original one the client gave me. I want this formatted stuff. I want to show more options when I bring this in. those options, the show import options, these will allow me to bring in the paragraph styles that are already set in Word. So make sure show import options is checked on. This is down in the lower left-hand area. I hit open and the import options will pop up. What we want here is we want to make sure that preserve styles and formatting from text and tables is selected. We don't want remove styles and formatting from text and tables selected. If that were selected, it would get rid of all that hard work we just did. So we want preserve styles and formatting from text and tables. We don't want to import unused styles because you saw all those paragraph styles are floating around. I got to go digging for stuff. So make sure import unused styles is unchecked. Okay, so by default this one is actually okay, but don't trust that by default it's going to be fine. Now, when I hit OK, what you'll see in my paragraph styles, it'll start listing out all the paragraph styles I created in Word. Okay, so when I hit OK, watch this window. Oh, it's saying that there's a missing font. I really don't care, so I'm going to hit close. And when I do this, oh, you see all those paragraph styles just came in there. Awesome. Now, when I say I did this, it was a loaded cursor. Now, when you have a loaded cursor, let me show you some trick. I did not do the thing I'm about ready to tell you to do. If you want text to automatically flow from page to page, and you don't want to have to manually link text boxes, let me show you manually linking text boxes. If I click here, it flows. Oh, it says there's more text. I got to click there and grab it and go to the next column and keep on going and play this leapfrog game. I don't want to play this leapfrog game. So let me hit Command Z or Edit Undo a couple of times here. Get it back to my loaded cursor. If you guys hold down Shift key while your cursor is loaded, you'll see right here where my cursor is, you see when I hold down Shift key it turns into a little arrow. I don't know if you can see that, but it turns into a little arrow. Without Shift key depressed, it looks like a little newspaper. With Shift key depressed, it shows an arrow. That arrow means auto flow. That means it's going to automatically flow all of this merchandise into the pages. Now the problem with that is, because we have a page break, it automatically created 2 more spreads to get the other text to come in. Well, we'll deal with that later. No problem. We'll deal with it later. We'll just get it to flow properly, and then we'll kill those 2 pages. Okay? Now it's just a matter of editing the paragraph styles. That's all we have to do. But before we do that, we need to load the fonts, because I don't have the right fonts loaded here. So let me save this. I just hit Command S, and I need to load the fonts right here that we have on available to you. Now, if you're on a PC or a Mac, on the PC, either way, you can double click on the hot font and say install. But if you guys are in a real world situation where you're in a professional environment and they're dealing with servers, you would actually have a piece of software. It's a Suitcase Fusion is what it is. And it looks like they did not put it on the dock down here, so we have to go find it. But I want to share with you how to deal with Suitcase Fusion, which is a professional third-party software where we load fonts and manage fonts. So I would have to go to my Applications folder and go to Suitcase Fusion. And, let's just do a demo, I guess. Okay, well, it looks like I need to talk to IT. Oh, here we go. It's going. In this window right here, let me see if I can minimize this. Not that way, excuse me. Make this smaller. It's not really letting me do a whole lot. There we go, finally. I can grab the fonts that I have here. I can grab the entire fonts folder, actually, and drag it to this little empty window. There's blue and white stripes. I know on the overhead you can't see that. It'll separate them outside of the folder. Now, in a real working environment, you'll have all your fonts loaded here, but not activated. These are loaded, but they're not activated, meaning the software won't recognize these fonts. So we have Copperplate, Folio, Baskerville, and Mesquite. These are the fonts that are used in the publication. So it's Copperplate, Folio, Baskerville, and it's not just any old Baskerville, it's ITC New Baskerville, and Mesquite. Again, these are loaded, they're not activated. To activate these fonts, you click to the left of the little star. There's an empty space. You can see there's a little circle above it. You click on each one of those, and now these fonts are actually activated, and the software should be able to access them. Until you activate them, they are not accessible. Loading them isn't enough, but these are now active. Now, they're active temporarily for now, but that's fine. Now, when I bring up InDesign, I can use those fonts. Before I do anything, I want to make sure they actually activated. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try to find something like Copperplate. I should just start typing it, but let's just go up here and see if Copperplate's there. And I'm not looking for the TrueType one. I'm looking for the OpenType version. That's don't use TrueType fonts, they're actually unprofessional. OpenType fonts are professional grade fonts. Folio was another one I loaded. Well, there's Folio. You can see an O next to it. Folio standard STD. Has the O. Yeah, you want the O.
Yeah, I never did that.
Yep. The O means OpenType. TT means TrueType. And if you see an A, that means it's an Adobe font, which is also professional. Baskerville, well, this was a new Baskerville. And if I look up here, it should list as ITC New Baskerville. It's in order of Baskerville, but they got that ITC before it. ITC New Baskerville is there. My mouse is doing crazy things here. There we go, ITC New Baskerville. And then Mesquite was the last one, and I'm going to look and see if it loaded. And here's Mesquite, Mesquite Standard. There's the O right here. Oops, I didn't really want to apply that. So all those fonts are loaded and activated through Suitcase Fusion. So you guys have to know how to do that. Now, most of you guys don't have Suitcase Fusion at home, so you just double click on the font and hit load. If after you do that your computer acts like it's got a virus and it just doesn't act right, wants to lock up on you all the time, keep a log of what fonts you've loaded when, a paper log, because all those free fonts you guys love from defont.com, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Those free fonts oftentimes have the same ID number as some of these professional fonts that you load, and you can't see those ID numbers. You have to buy, again, another third-party software to even see those ID numbers. But the computer recognizes font not by its name, but by its ID number. And if your Mesquite has the same ID number as your Bleeding Cowboys that you got from Beesney, or not Beesney's, from defont.com, your computer will act like it has a virus. You don't know what's going on. Why is this thing being so goofy? Well, if you get rid of you don't get rid of your fonts. Deactivate them by putting in a fonts disabled folder. Keep your fonts, but move some over to a folder called fonts disabled. And you'll find that your computer will actually run just fine. Okay, now we're ready to move on. This Lodge cast iron type was Copperplate, I can tell because I know what the fonts are by looking at them. But I don't want to just go, hey, let me go over here to the control panel and make it Copperplate. No, why would I do that? I already made a paragraph style. It's called Top Text Header. Double click on that to edit it. And go to Basic Character Formatting and make sure you're using Copperplate OpenType. I'm going to type in Copperplate and make sure it's an OpenType. Well, I don't know for sure. I'll just have to do Copperplate Gothics. If it says STD, this is one case where you do want STDs. If it says STD, chances are it's the professional OpenType font we just loaded. I know that's a weird joke, but this is the one time you do want STD. So I'm looking at this and I'm hitting the preview button. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. But it looks like in here it's tracked out. Tracking means the same amount of space between the characters. So I'm going to adjust the tracking. Oh, look, isn't that pretty? I just tracked it. Now, what do you think happened to the other pages type? It did the exact same thing. Let's go look. I'll be darned. I'm not done yet. It needs to be centered, doesn't it? Oh, darn, I forgot. Let me double click on that. Oh, let's see. Indents and spacing, alignment, center. Oh, perfect. Now, I'm going to zoom in so we can see this a little bit better. This has little bullet points, but you don't want to just click on the bullet point, paragraph thing. There's a bullet point thing. That's not, it's got one on each side, so that's not really a bullet point. It's a special character. It's a glyph. A glyph is a character. In order to find that little bullet point glyph, because we have one at the beginning and at the end, you would go to Type and Glyphs. Cool. 7 items from the bottom, or from the top rather. Type, Glyphs, and you go find yourself a nice little bullet point in here. And when you get the right one, that looks right. Yep, there he is. You apply it. And you can do the same thing over here. I'm putting my cursor, and I just click on that again. Actually, you have to double click. And now I've got my glyphs in there. Looks like it was glyph and space bar. They get a little bit of space. Okay? Now, that was not typeset in there, so now I have to do this to both of these. Okay, so that wasn't in Microsoft Word. You actually have to add these into InDesign. They're still under the same paragraph style. Oh, also, for some reason, Microsoft Word and InDesign don't always communicate well with one another. And this apostrophe, it was like, I don't even know what that character is. So when you see stuff like this, go in and just clean it up. You know, if you see crazy stuff, it doesn't like an apostrophe from Word. I don't know why. And it's just saying that font's not loaded, which I don't care, because I just was throwing any old font in there anyway. Okay, so we just got done with Lodge, Cast Iron, both of them at the same time. Let's go to the next one, Camp Cookware. Well, that looks like mesquite, so I need to go find the style that it's named after. It's type of cookware. I need to double click that. I need to go to basic character format, and I try to find mesquite. There it is. I want to make sure that preview is on. Oh, that's too tiny. I need to make that bigger. So I'm going to increase the size of this till it looks about right. I can always adjust it later. And I also noticed here that it looks like there's a little bit of space after that on both of the pages. So I'm going to add just a little space after that by going to Indents and Spacing and saying, hey, let me give a little space after that. Just a little, not a lot. Maybe it's half a pica. I don't know. Cool thing about paragraph styles is, if you screw up, you just go back and edit and take it out. Take a little bit out if it's not flowing right. And oh, by the way, you are centered. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. I hit OK, and guess what? It did it to the other one. Love it. I'm ready to move to the next one. Camp Dutch Oven. Let's see what style he is. Oh, he's the Camp Dutch Oven in replacement. Well, he's probably Baskerville. I'm sure of it. So let me double click on this, go to basic character formatting, and I'll start typing Baskerville. But it's really the ITC Baskerville. Don't be fooled. Not all Baskervilles are created equally. There's Baskerville, Baskerville Old Face, and ITC New Baskerville Standard. You want the one with the STD. I'm sorry, but you do. And how big? I don't know. Let's just do it till it looks about right there. That looks about right. Of course, we can go in and edit this later if it's not. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK because I like the way it looks. And if anything else was like that, it changed it, but it doesn't look like there's a whole lot else. Now I'm ready to deal with the body copy. You notice how I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks? I don't sit there and click and drag on this long stuff. 4 clicks. It says body copy. Well, that I know also from the looks of things is also Baskerville. So I'm going to go to basic character, start typing in Baskerville. Get the right Baskerville. Is it 12? I don't think so. Then again, I don't know. I don't have my other thing in I don't have my pot in there yet to know if this reflow is good. It's probably not 12. It's probably more like 9 or something. I'm going to do 9 over 12 just to see what happens. 9 over 12. Looks okay. I'm going to hit OK. Anything that said it was body copy is now changed to 9 over 12. So this is now, whoops, the stuff on this page is 9 over 12. That looks a little bit too heavily leaded, so I'm going to go ahead and edit that style and do it as a 9 over maybe 11. There we go. That was too much leading. And it looks like there's always some space before and after that body copy. So I'm going to add a little space before that body copy by, again, going to its style, going to indents and spacing. And it looks like there was a little bit of space before that. So I'm going to get a little bit of space before, until it looks about right. And then I hit OK. It's getting pretty easy, isn't it? When you guys do the paragraph styling, and you don't even care what it looks like in Word, then you come over here to InDesign, you just edit it. It's so easy. Logic seasoned and ready to use. Again, I know that's Baskerville. Now, this is going to have a character style because later, because I can sing that song. One of these things is not like the other. So the words logic are all caps. I'll deal with those later. I always do character styles later. So I'm kind of just setting this more for the size and the leading, or the point size, maybe if there's a space before it, that kind of thing. So I'm going to double click on that. I know that that's also Baskerville, but it's the ITC Baskerville. And is it 12 points? I don't know. It looks okay. I'm going to leave it for now. And I always want to put my leading at something other than the default, and it looks like it has a little space before it, so I go to indents and spacing and say, hey, there's got a little space before that. Okay, thanks, that looks good. So the numbers I'm putting in here, they don't really matter right now. They matter later. If things aren't fitting, I'll adjust them. Aha, now we're ready to deal with tabs. All of this type here, all the way down to $132. This I do have to click and drag because there's several paragraphs. Just make sure you're grabbing the invisible character. Okay? Right now, the invisible character is not selected. You always want a little extra space after your selection for that invisible character. Description and price. I'm going to double click on that. I am going to go to basic character. And again, this is probably Baskerville, so I'm going to, because it's the only fonts, I only use them for fonts. ITC New Baskerville. That is much too big. Let's try 9, see what happens. 9 looks pretty good. Now, in Microsoft Word, the tab key was hit before the price. Now I just have to set the tab. Okay? I'm going to hit OK on this. I'm going to move my paragraph styles over for just a second so we can watch where this tab stop is going to go. So I'm going to again edit my price, or my description and price. I bring up my tabs. All right? This tab is an align on decimal tab. If you notice on the PDF and on your printouts that the prices that have single dollar digits, that number is moved in. It's not aligned. They're not aligned on the left edge. They're not all aligned on the left edge of the dollar sign. They're aligned on the decimal. So no matter how expensive things get, we have 3 digits here in the dollars area. Everything looks nice and orderly because they're aligned on the decimal point. So this is a decimal point tab. So I click on the decimal point tab option here. Okay. Now I'm going to move this down so I can see where it's going to go. I will click anywhere above the ruler and start dragging until I get it. Oops, I went too far. I thought that would be good. You notice how the price is moving to the next line? That means that tab spot needs to be moved just to the left, just a smidge. And that way you can get it on that line. Yay! 22p, let me see if 23p is going to work. 22p12 would be the equivalent of 23 picas. So I'm going to say 23. Oh, nope, 23 is no good. Isn't that funny? 23 is no good. Now, if you can't find your tab, click on the actual ruler and a little hand will come up and you can move that back over to 20. For me, it's 22p11. I don't care what number it is, just as long as it looks good. Okay, I hit OK. Oh my God, look what happened. It did it to all of them. Oh my gosh, and it moved this text over here. I'm almost done. I love this stuff. I'm not really almost done because I'm going to start parking images in here and we're going to have some problems that come up that we need to solve. Oh, these 2 pages, we can get rid of them, but we'll wait. It might reflow again. Okay, I'm not done yet because I haven't even gotten to original finish. I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I'm done. Original finish. Well, he's got a space before him. He's Baskerville. Let me double click on this. Make him Baskerville, the ITC one. I wish it would remember the things I did last. Oh, there we go. ITC Baskerville. Again, preview should be on. And he has a little bit of spacing, so I go into and spacing. I said, give me a little space before him. Okay, that looks good. Thanks. Okay. Whew. Replacement lids. He's also Baskerville. Oh, we can sing the song again. Darn it. Because we all lose our lids sometimes is smaller than replacement lids. I'll have to deal with that later. But this also has a space before it. Doesn't have a space after it. So I'm going to have to double click on that. Make sure he is the right character. He is ITC Baskerville. How did I do that? I don't know. And he seems to be awfully large. I'll pull him down a little bit just so he all gets on one line. I'll deal with him later. And he also has a space before him. Now it appears that other things are moving when I do that. Not him, not just him. It's something up there is moving as well. So I'm like, uh-oh, if something else is moving, somebody else shares that paragraph style, and that would be this Camp Dutch thing. Uh-oh. Maybe this doesn't have a space after it. Let me take the space after this off. So see how we can just go in and we can go, oh, something's not working. It's putting too much of a space. Let me put 0 on that. Okay, there we go. Great. Sometimes you have to rethink what you thought was going to be right. And you have to reevaluate and go back and change a couple things. Now, we'd already set this one. He's fine. These have been set. They're fine. Natural finish. He's probably just description and price. He's fine. In this case, I might hit a hard return there just to get him to move down because, well, if I don't use that formatting again, I'm not going to worry about it. But if I'm going to use that formatting again, I'll make that a separate paragraph style and put a space before it. But for now, I'm just going to hit a return if that's only one of them. Oh, nope, it's not. Natural finish, original finish, assist with no handle, original finish, assist handle. Okay, so I've got to rethink this too because he needs to be the same as these guys right here. So I am going to say, hey, you are the original finish. Okay, so I'm going to go here where it says original finish. I'm just going to call it finish. Okay, so natural finish, original finish, those are all the same. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the next page and make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, yep, skillets. Well, he's kind of special. He was his own thing. Now it's telling me that that font's not loaded. When I look at the word skillets, all caps, I know that that is Baskerville. So I'm going to double click on that. And I'm going to say that he is Baskerville because ski is not even loaded. And he's not bold, he's Roman, so that's fine. He is all caps though. So where it says case, normal, I want all caps. Okay? Uppercase, lowercase, all caps, it's all found in case. He also has a pretty hefty space before him. So I'm going to set this pretty tall. Let's do 3 picas just for starters. I can always change that. And I hit OK. That's fine. That's fine. It's probably too big. I need to go in here and edit this. That should not go to a second line, so I'm going to edit this and make this a little bit smaller so it all fits one line. I'll do it to all of them. That's fine, that's fine. He's fine. Oh, he looks weird. He needs to be finish. Oops. This needs to be finish. Okay, he is. He's fine. These guys are fine, and that stuff goes on the master page. Boy, that's a lot of work. I should save this. Now, this is all going to get kind of screwy when I start putting images in here. You guys are going to see it here in just a second. I've supplied to you the images. They're in the folder that you download and unzip. It's in the links area. We have two decoratives that go on the master page. We have a lid. We have a couple of page number icons. We have the thing where we have the two cast iron pans, and we have this big Dutch oven, which is called pot. So we're going to put the image pot right here. So here we go. File and place. Command D. I go to my links panel. I go find the pot. I hit open. And this is an image. It does say, by default, applying the Photoshop clipping path is on. I don't even know if there's a clipping path on there. I'm going to pop him in there. Okay? He looks like he's about the size we need him. I'm going to position him, so I'm going to also send him to the back. Object, arrange, send to the back, so I can see some of this other type. I'm going to arrange him into the position in which he needs to go. Roughly there. It's pretty close to the word camp cookware. Now what I need to do is I need to put a text wrap on this image so that the text will automatically flow around it. To do that, there's an actual text wrap window. So I go to Window and I bring up Text Wrap, and here is the text wrap window. Now you wanted to actually, I don't think there's a clipping path on this because it was photographed on a white background. So you can have InDesign detect its edges. But in order to have it detect the edges, you need to click on this thing that says Wrap Around Object Shape. It's the third icon in the text wrap area. Now, right now it's not detecting the graphics edges. Not yet. Here where it says Contour Options, right now it says same as clipping. Well, there's no clipping path, otherwise it would have wrapped around there nicely. But it can detect the edges, assuming you click on Detect Edges. Ah, lovely. So lovely. Okay, let me review that from the beginning. Window, text wrap, make sure the object is selected. It's a select and effect environment. Choose on Wrap Around Object Shape, or click that. And where it says Contour Options, same as clipping. Sometimes it says Bounding Box, but you want to say Detect Edges. You want to choose that. So it detects the edges of an object that has a white background. If it doesn't have a white background, this option is not a good option. Okay? And as I move him, you'll see that the type moves. Now, I also need to tell you about something very secretive that a lot of people don't know where it is and have a hard time finding it. You'll notice that on the printout, Camp Cookware and Logic Cast Iron, those are still centered on the page. They should not be running away from that image. Okay, so how do we get that problem solved? We highlight that text and we go to Object and we go to Text Frame Options. We've been here before, but for a different reason. On the last exercise that we had for the Bill of Rights, we told it to inset all the text from the edges of the stroked box. But we also have options here that will allow us to ignore the text wrap. So here where it says Text Frame Options, Ignore Text Wrap, I click on that and hit Preview, Ruh-roh. We have a problem. Now we have to solve the problem. The text frame options are specific to that text box, not the text we selected. Darn it. So let's find a solution to this problem. The solution to this problem is this. You will shorten the text box to the point where it crops out all of the text below Camp Cookware. You will then click on the little arrow. You see it's no longer a plus sign because autoflow is in order and it's moved things to the next page. But you click on this little arrow and you reload the cursor and you draw a new text box below that one. This is one way of handling it. And you just make sure that he's aligned perfectly to the base of this first text box. And now this guy has a text wrap on him that will affect only this text. Assuming I can click on this text box, go to Object, go to Text Frame Options and say ignore the text wrap. This one is not ignoring the text wrap. By default, they don't ignore the text wrap. I move him up so the price ends up in the right position. So it's a little tricky. Sometimes you get these little tricky things that happen. You're like, I can't tell these to ignore the text wraps unless they're in their own text box. But in order to have the type flow properly, you definitely want this text box to butt up to the bottom of the text box from which it is linked to. Okay? Now, I'm all about automation, so if there's another way to do this, I'll try to figure it out, but this is right now what I have. Be nice.
Showing that one more time.
Sure, I don't mind at all. No problem. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go back to the original here. Okay. So the problem was when we applied the text wrap on this object, and we detected the edges, and let me turn off this for just a second. I'm going to go back to what it was before. Okay. So the problem was when we put a text wrap on this, the top two items wrapped, and we don't want them to. So in theory, I thought if we selected these two and went to Object and Text Frame Options and ignored the text wrap, it would ignore it just for those two. Well, that's not the case. So then I had to, oh, you know what? Let me think this through a little bit differently. I'll show you what I did. What I did was, and I'm going to share with you how I might think this through a little differently. What I did was I pulled this up to crop out all of that text. I clicked on this little arrow, which indicates, hey, this is where you can click and get more text. If I create a new text box, it'll automatically flow into that text box. So I'm going to click and drag, create a new text box, and it automatically flows that next text in there. And then I just pull that up so it more or less matches up to the bottom of that box. Now, this text is not ignoring the text wrap because by default, when you create a new text box, ignore text wrap is not checked on. So by default, things will not ignore the text wrap. They will wrap. Now, let's think about working smarter, not harder for just a second. That was too hard. And if somebody comes in and wants to do a bunch of editing, this text may not reflow and play nicely with this text. So I want to make sure that I'm sharing with you other options. Okay, so I'm going to delete that text box. I'm going to share you something that I think is probably a little bit better because of the reflow issue. Here's what I might do if I were in a real world situation and I knew that maybe they're going to delete some pages or whatever. I will get the pen tool and I will draw around the shape of this vessel. Okay? I will put a stroke of none and fill it with none. I will tell that to have a text wrap on it. And make sure that the type does not have, this type box does not have ignore text wrap, which I think it does. Turn that off. Now I hit OK. Now what I do is Camp Cookware is kind of running away. So I click on this little node right here and I drag these nodes down. Why do I have more than one node? I don't know. Something new to InDesign. I guess the newest InDesign. They have 2 of these. Weird. That's just weird. Hold on, I gotta figure out what the new thing in InDesign is. So we don't want to detect edges. We want to just do bounding box. We want, actually, let's do none. We want no text wrap on him. That was the problem. I had 2 text wraps going on, one on the actual picture and one that I drew. So I'm going to redraw this. If I'm confusing you guys, I can start over and do it again. So I'm drawing an object that's roughly that shape. Again, I'm turning it to none on the stroke. I tell it to detect the edges. There we go. It's wrapping only the items that I want it to, and I don't have to fuss with having to make extra text boxes. And when I hit the W key, which is what you get when you print, you can see that that little box I drew, that custom box, it's not there. Now it looks like I need to crop this image. It looks like there's a little noise in there. I'm going to crop that just a little bit. There we go. There were some pixels down below that were kind of ugly. And there we go. So it's kind of the, you know, there's more. I'm sorry for those of you guys who love cats. There's more than one way to skin a cat. This way, if somebody says, hey, you know, we need to move this around, or you need to make Camp Cookware bigger, it's not going to go and pop into the next box. So that's one, you know, sometimes I have to think through things a couple of different ways. So instead of 2 text boxes, we have 1. And instead of text wrapping around the entire picture, there's no text wrap on the picture at all. We took that off. There's just a drawing of this weird shape, and that shape has no fill, no stroke, but there's a text wrap on it. And it's not causing this stuff to wrap because it's too low. Everybody got to get that now? Okay. So I was overcomplicating things. And I know down the road, if they go and shift things and move things around, that this could be a problem. Okay. Knowing that, now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to import the picture of the lid. It goes somewhere down in here. So I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to hit Command D or File, Place. See, Command D. I'm going to go get the lid picture. Open it. It's an image. I hit OK. I'm like, ah, it goes right about here. Notice how it's covering up the pricing? And it's somewhere right here. Well, I can put a text wrap on it. It shouldn't be a big problem. Or maybe it will. So I'm going to go to Window, Text Wrap. I want it to detect the edges, but first I have to tell it to wrap around its shape and detect the edges. Hey, what's happening to my pricing? Well, we just ran into a problem. This tab is set, come hell or high water, it's set to be all the way over here. Okay, it does not, tabs don't recognize text wraps. Oh, really? Yes, really. So what I have to do to this text right here, this pricing, I have to set a completely different tab for that pricing than for the previous pricing. We don't want to edit the paragraph style because it'll mess up all the stuff I've already worked on that is positioned properly. But I can duplicate the paragraph style and then edit the duplicate. So I'm going to right-click on the description and price paragraph style. I'm going to duplicate that style. And it's going to have the word copy after it. It automatically pops up. And I can now go to the tabs and I can move that tab over. Make sure preview is on. Oh, Lord. That's way off. Move that tab over. Come on now. Lord. There we go. Now, it's not doing anything. I'm going to hit OK. The reason why it's not doing anything because it's still a description and price paragraph style. Oh, it needs to be the copy one. Oh, there it goes. Oh, let me double click on that and let me move that tab some more. Just right about there. Okay, thanks. I probably could send this image to the back because we're covering up some typography. So I'm going to take that image and go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and there we go. This didn't even need a text wrap on it in the first place. So I'm going to go to Window, Text Wrap, and just turn it off because I don't want it to give me problems. So no text wrap. Sometimes you need them, sometimes you don't. Now, with natural finish, these guys, well, their tab is correct, but they're not in the right position. They need to be indented a little bit. Well, we don't know how far yet because we haven't placed the graphics on the master page yet. So I'll indent it a little bit, but I don't want to indent everything that is this paragraph style. So description and price, if I edit that, it's going to indent all of my descriptions and prices, and so I don't want that for that one. So guess what I get to do again? I get to duplicate this again. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? So I'm going to duplicate description and price again. I'm going to right-click and say duplicate. And I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to say, hey, these guys are description and price copy number 2. That way I can see what's happening before I try it. So I've just duplicated the style and I applied this as that style. I double click. I make sure preview is on. It is. I go to indents and spacing and I just start setting a left indent roughly to about where it is on the printout. I hit OK. Natural finish, the same problem. Where it says finish, I need to duplicate that paragraph style. Again, I'm going to duplicate it by right-clicking, duplicate it, finish copy, OK. Make sure natural finish is selected and say, hey, you're finished copy, double-click on it, and put the same number in for its indent as what you used before. I don't know what number that is, but it was probably that, as long as it aligns. Okay? So, it seemed like this was going to be really easy. And when you look at it, you're like, no sweat. You know, the Bill of Rights thing was no sweat. This will be no sweat. But then you start realizing that the formatting does change slightly for certain items. And how we manage that is we duplicate the paragraph style. We apply that duplicate style to that text. Then we edit the paragraph style. Now I'm going to go ahead and place the next image, which is pans. And they go roughly right in there. Now, I don't really want this text up here to wrap around these pans. Let me send those pans to the back. Arrange, send to back. I don't want this text wrapping around this image. And we know that this text does wrap around it. So, in this case, again, I'm going to use that trick where we just draw around the shape with a pen tool. And it doesn't have to be like super fancy. It's just, it's ugly shape, but nobody sees it. Turn the stroke to none. Bring up the text wrap and say, oh, just wrap around that area right there. Wrap around the object shape. And I probably should hold down the shift key and click on the pans. So the shape that ugly shape I drew and the pans are selected, I probably should go ahead and group those. That way if I have to move them later on, I'm going to send them to the back. It doesn't matter if they're in the back or the front, the text wrap still works. And I probably should do the same here, where I grab the image and the ugly thing I drew for the text wrap and group those. That way if I have to move them together, make sure they're sent to the back. If I have to move them, I know they're going to move together. And this text wrap just, oops, let me grab my the white arrow tool is the thing we use for editing stuff. Oh, come on. There we go. This text wrap, it may be pulled out a little bit because there was a bunch of widowed text. Widowed text means the word handle is out there all by itself. It's a widow. So if I grab one of these nodes, I can push convenience so he moves down to the next line. So these text wraps, you can click on their nodes with the white arrow tool, known as the direct selection tool, and click on a node and move it to crowd things out. That works out. And you know, I really don't want to guess on these tabs where they're positioned. These are going to be the same situation where we're going to duplicate a paragraph style. We're going to set tabs separately. But I need to know where all of this information is at from the master page. So I need to talk about that. I'm going to save this. Oops. And we need to figure out how to get those elements that fall on every page to fall on these pages. And we're not going to do them here. We're going to do them on the master. So there are a few things that are going to be on the master page. The word page 24 isn't on there. I need to get rid of that. I don't know where that came from. Again, when you get documents, sometimes the editors have forgotten to edit things out because they don't see it. But we know that order by phone and internet is on there. We know that Lodge, the website's on there. So I'm going to highlight that information, and I'm going to cut it, which is Command X. Get rid of it altogether. And over here, I'm just going to get rid of this here. There we go. Just get rid of the stuff that doesn't belong on this page. And I'm going to go to what is called the master pages. So I'm going to the pages panel. And if something falls on every page, we would handle it on the master. So I'm going to double click on the master page. It's a master. You can rename those if you need to. And down here at the bottom, I'm going to position these elements. So I know I have a decorative that is on the left. I have one on the right. So I need to make sure those are perfectly positioned. One of the ways I'll do that is I'll use my grid. And this is kind of a cheap and tawdry way of doing it. But I'll hold down my shift key. I'll arrow it down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll arrow it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just counted. So then I know where the other one is positioned. I want this perfectly mirrored. So I'm going to put the other one over here. And I got another one. I could have just used that one and mirrored it, but they supplied us with 2 of them. Here's the other one. Pop it in. Oops, I had that selected. Pop it in here. Put it in the corner. And then hold on the shift key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's in exactly the mirrored position on the other side because I used the grid. I used the margin. Okay, so these are perfectly mirrored one another, exactly in the same position, both sides. Now I need to draw a text. Oh, I need to draw a text box and place that text that I cut from the previous page, so I can steal from it. So order by phone, mail, or internet. I need that. I need it to be in a text box by itself. It's probably, oh gosh, this is probably folio, I'm guessing. It's the only sans serif typeface on here. So this one, I'm going to use my backward, or my A up here. I don't really have to create a paragraph style for this. I can just copy and paste this over to the other side and I'm done. So I'm going to make sure that this is folio, the font. I want to make sure it's centered, which is Shift-Command-C for centered. Shift-Command-C. I'm going to position this down in this little kidney bean shape. And it needs to be smaller. Now, I don't know how much smaller, and I don't want to guess, so I'm going to do it by eye. But I want this to reduce or enlarge in proportion. Now, on a Mac, you can hold down Shift and Command, and when you click and drag a node, it increases or decreases in proportion. Shift Command. On a PC, it's Shift Control. So, Shift Command, click and drag. So when I bring this down here, I'm like, oh my, he's so crowded. But if I hold down Shift Command and I click and drag, I can see that by eye, this is working out pretty well. Also, it has a great deal of leading. Leading is the amount of space between the lines. So right now, the point size is around almost 9, and my leading amount needs to be increased to mimic what's happening on the printout. Also, this is all small caps. On the printout, you notice there's no lowercase, but the first letter of the word is bigger, so this is called small caps. So I click on the small caps. And they have carefully managed to have phone, mail, or internet all on their own line. Now, you don't want to necessarily hit the return key because that's a hard return. You want to hit a soft return. You want to go Shift Return and Shift Return and Shift Return one more time. I am going to have to make this bigger because they wanted these all on their own line. Now, I got a little carried away with the leading before I'd done that. So I'm reducing the amount of leading. I'm getting it in there. There we go. I just do it till it looks right. So we know that's folio. We know it's small caps. We know it's got a lot of leading. The point size really doesn't matter, guys, as long as it looks similar to what we have on the printout. As long as it looks believable, I'm fine with it. And now we're going to position that over on the other side. And in order to make sure that it's roughly the same, if I hold down the Shift key and the Alt key, well, the Alt key and dragging is copy and paste, okay? Alt key or Option on a Mac, Alt key is copy and paste. But when I'm dragging, I want to make sure it's in line. If you hold down the Shift key, it will stay perfectly in line horizontally. So Alt copies and Shift keeps it in line. So I'm going to zoom in and see, does that look pretty optically centered? It looks fine. And make sure this one looks optically centered. It looks fine as well. Okay, so those are on both pages. They're not exactly the same thing copied and pasted because one is mirrored. The other thing I have here is the website, the lodgemanufacturing.com. I'm going to get that out of here. Create its own text box. Paste it. Now in this instance, we want this alignment to be towards the right. So I want to highlight this text, make sure this is aligned to the grid actually. Highlight that text and make it right align. Shift Command R for right align, or if you go on the backwards P, it's this icon right here, align right. That typeface is also folio. It's the only sans serif we have on the design. And the size, well, I'm just going to do that Shift and Command, click and drag thing to where it's about there. And I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. But I did use the grid to align it to the right. And it may need to get smaller than that, I just don't know yet. The last thing is in the center of this page is a nice little graphic and then the words page and the number in there. So I'm going to get that little graphic by going to File and Place or Command D. This is page number icon. I guess it really doesn't matter. They look identical. I don't know why they've supplied two. I'm going to put that in there. This needs to be centered to the page. Now I don't want to guess. I could click on it and move it and wait till the center icon comes up. That's one way to do it. Or I could actually go to the alignment panel and tell it to be centered. So if you go and bring it to go to the alignment panel, which you go into the window and you're like, where is align? I don't see it. It's actually under object and layout. They kind of hide it nowadays. So if I go to align, I can say, hey, align this to the page. Before I do anything, I'll say align it to the page center. Where's page? Align to, here it is, where it says align to, selection, go to page. Align to page. That's hard to find. And then say, hey, align it centered. Wow, isn't that weird? It's aligning it differently than what it told me the center was. What's that about? Well, it was actually aligning to the center of the margins. It was not aligning to the center of the page. Oh. I don't know if you guys remember that, but when I clicked and drug this thing, it said, oh, right there, you can stop. You're at the center. But you see how that center line that pops up right in here, when you see it, that center line, ding, that is to the grid. That's to the margins. The actual page center is probably right about there. Again, you want to go to the page and say align center. So the darker the purple, it's more aligned to the margin. The lighter the pink, it's aligned to the page. And we can probably just typeset the words page. And don't put the number 5 in there. We know this is copper plate. Make sure it's copper plate with the STD. It's tracked out, so we want to track it out. Now tracking here, because we're not using paragraph styles, is up here in the character formatting rather. And here is tracking, and I just sit there and track that out. Okay. Make sure there's a space after the word page. And to get automatic page numbering, I don't type in a page 5 or 6 or anything like that here. To get automatic page numbering, you would go to Type, Insert Special Character, Markers, this is a lot of flyout menus, and then Current Page Number. Now the keyboard shortcut for that would be important to remember if you use this a lot. Shift, Option, Command, N. I don't use it enough to memorize that, but it's also hard to find. So it's hard to remember and hard to find. Again, that's Type, Insert Special Character, Markers, Current Page Number. A lot of traveling just to get that. Now, I see I have a red plus sign. That means there's not enough room in there to accommodate that little character. Now you notice it puts an A, the letter A. The reason why it puts the letter A is because the master page is A master. So this is modeled after master page A. Now I want to center this text, Shift Command C for center, and I need to bring it down into this box, making sure it's centered to the box. And there we have it. Now I need to copy these elements to the other side. So I'm going to grab them. I'm going to hold down Shift and Command, or I'm sorry, Shift and Alt. Move them over. Maybe I should do them one at a time because the Lodge, the website, it's going to end up coming over here into the order by phone and stuff. So I'll do the page number and that image at the same time. So I'm clicking and dragging over those, making sure they come in contact. And I hold down the Alt key or the Option key and the Shift key. And I want to align that to the center of the page. And then I'm going to grab this Lodge Logic stuff and bring it over by holding down Alt and Shift and make sure it's aligned to that grid line. And I also want to make sure that this is now left aligned, not right aligned, okay? Because it's pushed over here into this image. So Shift Command L for left. On a PC, that's Shift Control. Now it's left aligned, and I'm trying to make sure it lines up to this area, which it is. And I'm going to delete that box right there. So this is what I would get if I were going to print this. It would kind of look like what it is here. Now it does appear that this text is a little too large, so I might take this down to 8 points. Same thing here, This might be 8 points. 8 or 9 points. It's a little small, maybe 9. There we go, 9 looks better. So I'm not necessarily using paragraph styles here. To me, it takes just as much time to do 2 items as it does to do 1 here. I mean, to make a paragraph style doesn't make any sense. So if it's just a couple items, I don't worry about making a paragraph style. Okay, so the things on the master pages are done. Now the magic is going to happen when I go to the Pages panel, I click on this page. Voila, there they are. Order by phone and mail. Oh my God, it says page 6. How did it know? And right there it says page 7. But wait, on my master page it says page A. Well, it's because I did the automatic page numbering. And you always want to use automatic page numbering because when you are given extra pages, it will automatically put the page numbers in there for you. If you're doing 100 pages, you don't want to sit there and type those in every time. Okay. So now I'm looking at this going, oh man, I got a lot of work to do. Still. You guys are like, please, I need a break. Right? You guys need a break, right? You guys need a break yet, or you want me to finish it?
Well, it depends how much longer it'll take.
It won't take that long.
Yeah, just
Okay. So here I'm going, well, this stuff needs to move down. I have miscalculated maybe my leading on some things. I've miscalculated how much space before things have or space after paragraphs. So I can go through and adjust those through the paragraph styles. You guys already know how to do that, right? So this isn't really that big of a deal. So I can go in here and I'm like, okay, that needs more space. I'm going to rip him off. That means more space before him. So I go and find that particular paragraph style. I go to indent spacing. And I'm like, oh, let's give it a little bit more space before that. Okay, we're getting there. Thank you. Okay. This probably needs a little bit extra space after. So I double click on that, go to indent spacing. The space after isn't set to anything. Okay, maybe I don't want it. Maybe it's before. There we go. A little space before. Okay. This little guy, he probably needs a little bit of space before him. So I just do it until it looks great. Now, you notice how the images, they don't move? I'm like, ah, darn. That's kind of sucks. That's because we're not using tables or inline graphics. So we got to physically move those around. I'm like, that still isn't right. Well, let me see what this stuff is. This probably needs a little bit of extra leading. So let me put some leading in here. That's under basic character formatting. How about a little extra? Oh, we're getting there. Oh, that's feeling good. I get it to the point where things are just like perfect. Uh-oh, what happened to the other page? Ah! Well, because we have a page break and because there's an extra space or two after this, let me turn on my invisibles, type, show hidden characters. What do we have here? Oh, let me hit the W key. All right. Oh, looky, let's see what this is. Why is he there? Okay, let's get him. Let's highlight him. Let's delete him. Oh my gosh, there's the page back. Oh, jeez. Those hidden characters are really, really super things to turn on when you're confused. Okay, he's back. Yay. Now, I'm going to turn off the hidden characters because they also can really just mess with your head. So that's, again, type, hide hidden characters. Thank you. Goodbye. And I'm looking over here, and I'm like, oh, got to move these skillets around a little bit. Got a little reflow issue. All right, that feels better now. All right, that's good. Okay. Now, the last thing I need to do is set these tabs here for this little guy here. Let me hide my... I'm going to hit the W key. W is what you see is what you get, and it hides a bunch of crap. So if you're in a text box, it's going to type W. But that little link says, hey, that's on the master page. But I'm going to double click on this guy. And I'm like, oh, your description and price. Oh, I need to duplicate you again. And I need to edit you because you're moved over. I don't know why it's moved over. Maybe it's an aesthetic thing. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK because then I'm going to say, hey, you are number 3. Double click on it. Edit its tab. Move that tab over. Oops, come on, tab. There we go. All right, right about there looks good. Hit OK. And then with these, I need to duplicate it again. So I'm going to right-click on it, duplicate it, hit OK. Tell them he's the fourth duplicate, fourth copy. Double-click on this. Edit it by going to tabs, moving this tab over to the point where it looks good. They need a little bit more white space there. Oops, I'm getting crazy. Where'd he go? I think I just ripped him off. If you rip a tab off, just click on the tab icon and move it around. And I'm like, okay, that looks pretty good. All right, I'm done now. Thank you. All right, done. I might have a couple little things I need to go in and clean up, but no, this is not as easy as I'm going to delete these pages too. You click on a page, you just hit the little trash icon, and those pages will delete. Extra pages gone. And I need to move this lid down. Okay, get him away from that type there. Okay. Hit the W key, see what I get. And what I have is maybe not as perfectly clean as I want it to be. I'll have to go in and see. But looks like Camp Dutch Oven, I got to do something with it. It's decided to switch up to something else, so I got to fix that. But you guys can see how, yep, we got it done. Nope, it wasn't easy. I tried to make it as easy as I could. Okay? Any questions? Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Jackie's put her foot down. Yeah, take your own notes, guys. Okay, so I'm saving my stuff. I'm replacing that exercise, and I'm done with this and ready to turn it in through Blackboard. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.